What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Sunday Night Football Pre-Lock Show here on RotoGrinders, leading you up to another game on Sunday night. It's the Chiefs, it's the Chargers here in week 12, I think it is. I don't know, 11, 12, one of those weeks. Time, I think it's 11, but time just, combines at this part of the year. And so we've got what should be at least our most interesting game in a while. I'm Justin Van Zuiden. Got Will Priester here with me. Will, what's going on today, man?
Nothing much, man. Doing well. My son, they won their basketball tournament, his first season on varsity. So I don't think I could ask for much more than that on a Sunday. So I saw the scores today. Was pretty detached from DFS overall. Like, we were at it for a couple hours, so I'm back at it. It is now Showdown, and I think I'm with you. Let's hope this game doesn't disappoint, especially since we've been kind of seeing fireworks from the Kansas City Chiefs from Patrick Mahomes, at least for the past couple of weeks. Please don't let us down tonight on a Sunday night football game against the Chargers.
Yeah, and there were some good. There were some decent games today. There were, I think, 7 or 8 games decided by one possession. Though I don't know how much actual high quality football there was. The Bears and the Falcons was kind of sloppy. The Eagles had to overcome a really slow first 3 quarters. They only had 3 points after 3 quarters. They came back to beat the Colts. The Patriots beat the Jets 10-3 on a punt return touchdown with 5 seconds to go. Not sure how that happens. You had the Giants lose at home to Detroit. Baltimore had a 13-3 game, so that was kind of an ugly one. And then the Raiders and Broncos went to overtime, but that was 22-16. So some close games, and then of course Dallas beat Minnesota 40-3. Just kind of a weird day of football. Not really sure what to make of the results today, but happy to be moving on to the night game.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to be moving on to the night game. Should be a very fun experience, I hope. I am going to actually try to watch this one, Justin, because it is I think a pretty big game here. This is one, I think, when they scheduled it earlier during the season, they might have flexed this game. Either way,
they did. It was supposed to be the Steelers-Bengals game, but thankfully they moved that one out.
But with it being on the schedule, I think people would have expected this to be probably a better game. I know the Chargers have had injuries, feels like all year, but still, I think we'd much rather watch this game than Steelers Bengals. Nothing against Joe Burrow. This game should be more exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And the Chargers are getting healthy again. They've got some of their players coming back, so that was the issue. This is actually the second straight Sunday night that the Chargers have been on. They were on against San Francisco last week, but we were, talking about their third, fourth, fifth receivers kind of being their primary options. Now they get Mike Williams back. They get Keenan Allen back. And let's see. They're saying that Allen could be on some type of, I was just reading a little piece here, could see some type of snap count, given that he hasn't played a whole lot. So maybe a little bit of risk with him. But at least they're getting these guys back, and it's not just going to be up to DeAndre Carter and Joshua Palmer to kind of operate as the top 2 wide receivers. And they did stay in that game last week, even without those guys. They very nearly pulled it out against San Francisco. So they're at pretty much full strength. I believe Gerald Everett is active. Gerald Everett is inactive. So he will not play tonight. So we'll get to talk about the backup tight end discussion for the Chargers and maybe some value pieces there. But at least they get Williams and Keenan Allen back tonight. And the Chiefs favored by about 6 points. We got a healthy total, 53, the total in this game. So how do you think this game is going to go? You think the Chargers can hang with the high-powered Kansas City passing game here?
I think they should be. I mean, with some of their weapons coming back, I feel like it should be more competitive. With Mike Williams back in the fold and even, half of the snaps for Keenan Allen, that's better than Joshua Palmer and DeAndre Carter getting all the work. So I feel good about it. They are at home, which I think helps me feel better about how the team should look in terms of production. And so hopefully, this all materializes into good fantasy production and a good game in general.
Yeah, I think it will be competitive. The Chargers at home, going against a team that obviously is a division rival, and the Chargers at 5-4, really in a spot where they really need a win to be sticking in that AFC playoff race, where there's a lot of teams that have at least 6 wins. So important game for them. Obviously, the Chiefs looking to stay on top of the AFC. All the other division leaders are 7-3. The Chiefs are 7-2, so they'll maintain the top spot in the conference if they get a win tonight. So let's kind of talk captain picks here. If we start by talking about DraftKings, obviously Mahomes is going to be the popular option. We've got Eckler, we've got Kelsey, we've got Herbert. Those are kind of your 4 premier options in this game, and you're not going to be able to put all 4 of them together in a lineup on DraftKings. But who are you looking at as kind of your favorite captain to start here?
This is weird, man. I just think we just need to probably just roll with Mahomes. Maybe Mike Williams if we really think he's going to get the targets here. And I don't solely rely on just projections for every single slate, because I do, think there are other factors which I know, we would say, well, the projections account for that. But I think game script is important, that can influence a fantasy point total one way or the other. But the Mahomes projection is so much higher than any other projection. It seems very likely he may end up optimal tonight. Now, and that's why I'm saying Mike Williams could be a key here, because if Kansas City is down and they go behind, he's 13-5. We know he's already going to play a lot more than Keenan Allen. We also know that I think Gerald Everett is out. Is he out officially?
He is.
Yeah,
yes.
He's out officially. So it seems as if Mike Williams should be leading the charge for the passing offense. I am expecting the passing offense to have to roll here. I think if there was one other guy, he's only slightly cheaper than Mahomes, it will probably be Eckler, just because of the touchdown upside he has in rushing and receiving, and also targets as well. So if there was one other guy that may be able to push, I think it would be Eckler. Now, and I know some people are going to say, well, what about Travis Kelce? Listen, I'm not forgetting about Travis Kelce. I understand that he could easily come out here and have, 7 catches, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And if that's the case, then, he's running close to optimal. I do think Mahomes is great tonight. And then that handful, I don't think we're getting any cheap captions tonight for what it's worth. And I think that's really what I'm getting at here. I think you just stick at the top, Mahomes, Eckler, Kelsey, and I think for me a sprinkle of Mike Williams just in case. But all in all, I think these guys that are priced up are the ones you should have tonight. They should garner a whole lot of the production in this game.
Yeah, it's tough to get away from that kind of top group of 4 with your captains. I do agree that Mike Williams is an interesting kind of contrarian one, given his big playability, and if Keenan Allen is still somewhat limited, I think that's a solid play there if you're looking to go off the board a little bit more in tournaments. I'll leave Mahomes in kind of the sample that I did here. We've got Herbert on the other side. I mean, you can do it. Messed around with this. You can get Mahomes and Herbert in the same lineup, and it's still pretty doable. So are you willing to play both quarterbacks together tonight? Do you think that ends up being optimal?
I don't think so. I think it's too expensive. I think we get one or the other in there.
But Eckler's more expensive than Herbert.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't want to fade Eckler for Herbert. It's basically
Okay.
what I'm getting at. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. What I'm getting at. But I think if I'm playing Herbert, I'm not playing Mahomes. I think that's the approach I'm taking here. Which, God, feels so crazy because Mahomes could. I mean, he could essentially just blow this slate out of the water. But if I'm not going to play Mahomes, I'm going to for sure have Kelsey and probably for sure have the pass catchers. Because what I'm banking on if I don't play Mahomes is that he does just enough to get the receivers there or enough, right? Like Kelsey, and he kind of maybe spreads the ball around, but one of them ends up with maybe 2 touchdowns, like Kelsey. And then I run it back with Herbert, who basically matches Mahomes' production, but we kind of get the Chargers in a little bit slightly cheaper situation. So if I get Eckler and Herbert, and then I throw in a Mike Williams, then that's kind of the approach I'm taking to get away from Mahomes, but still get some exposure to his pass catching game, especially with MVS being 5,400, makes it pretty easy for us to get exposure to the passing game on the other side.
Yeah, and you can maybe get both quarterbacks and Eckler in there, or Mahomes, Eckler, and Kelsey. You can get 3 of the 4. You can't get all 4. It's basically impossible. But if we try to do a build with 3 of them, I can just do it just to show you how it works. But and it's not going to be playing any of the other running backs. Obviously, we've already got Eckler in here. The Kansas City backfield is basically a nightmare. Pacheco seems to have the upper hand for early down carries now, but he's kind of expensive at 6,800. McKinnon does get most of the passing work, and we know that Kansas City doesn't mind throwing it 50 times. He's had 8 targets the last 2 games. Do you have any interest in these running backs for the Chiefs?
Yeah, I do have some interest in McKinnon, and I'm hoping that his ownership doesn't go too crazy. We've got him at 21%. Eckler's at 33%. Pacheco's at 22%. So I'm absolutely willing to get in on the McKinnon shares, and I'm hoping with the Juju Smith-Schuster, we've known this all week, concussion play happened since last week. I'm hoping that this materializes into a similar amount of production or targets, shall I say? Because if so, if he can catch 6 balls again at 4,600, I mean, he's already looking, having a nice floor. I'm not saying he's going to catch 6 balls, but I'd like for him to. If he can catch 5 balls, and that translates into 30 yards or so. Now we're saying, hey, does he get a touchdown or does he not get a touchdown? Like that's. I'm absolutely willing to get in on with him at that price, considering he will have some upside in this spot. And I think the past couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken, last week I think what did he have 50-something yards receiving or 40-something? But I mean, I know the past couple of weeks he's had the receiving yardage to support
6 for 56, and 6 for 40 the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so that's if we get anything close to that, I'm feeling good about getting him in your lineups.
Yeah, I'm okay with it, particularly at that salary. He would be the one guy on DraftKings that I would be comfortable targeting from the Kansas City running game. And then we talk about their pass catchers. You mentioned MVS is 5,400. He's basically operating as the de facto number 1 wide receiver now. You've got Tony in there, obviously capable of big plays, gadget plays. And then you got Justin Watson and Sky Moore behind Scantling, Valdez-Scantling, and Tony, and they're going to get more snaps tonight. And that's your path to a lineup build that has Mahomes, Eckler, and Herbert or Kelsey in there. Because if I play Sky Moore at 600, I've got $6,300 left, and boom, I can put Valdez-Scantling in there, or I can put a kicker in there or a defense in there to round it out. So these cheap pass catchers for the Chiefs are your way to kind of get that build with 3 of the 4-star players in it. What are your thoughts on this group? And then we'll talk about the Chargers receivers.
Yeah, I'm not added to Sky Moore just because, when I looked at the Gridiron IQ, he just wasn't out there as much as the other guys. So absolutely willing to get in on a little bit of Justin Watson. Like, if you look at his snap count last week, I think he was around 60%, I think. But don't quote me on that. This is just stuff I kind of looked at before the show to make some decisions. But I'm kind of in on Watson at 1.4K. He could definitely be sneaky, but he's not as sneaky as we think. We've got a projected for 14.37%, which means some other smart people are looking at Gridiron IQ as well. So I don't want to – out of this bunch, those Sky Moore's the odd man out. Like MVS and Watson, I'm in on I don't hate Tony. Maybe Tony picks up a lot more snaps this week than he does. But if I had to choose between Tony and MVS tonight, um, MVS does have more ownership. I still think I go with him just to keep that salary relief to get in other bigger names.
Yeah, I think in GPPs, I definitely like Tony because I think the upside is there, and I actually think his ownership might be just a touch lower than what we have because he is 8K. It's not like he's cheap. And somebody had posted in the YouTube chat any interest in Tony as captain. He's just really expensive. It's a really big risk reward play. If you're doing like 50, 60 lineups tonight, I like doing that in some GPP builds. But it's not like you're getting a free square or any type of discount with him. So I like him a lot in tournaments. And I like, the leverage away from MVS in GPPs. With my opinion being that MVS is going to be higher owned than what we have him at. But that's just my opinion, obviously. So no Tony real interest in him as a captain for me, but I do like him as a tournament play. Absolutely. All right. Let's talk tight ends. Obviously, we didn't talk about the Chargers receivers. We already kind of touched on it. I mean, Keenan Allen certainly risky. Mike Williams should be more of a full go. How are you handling these guys tonight?
Yeah, definitely going to be in on Mike Williams. Like I said, I think he's kind of my favorite out of the bunch. I think Keenan Allen, and I'm pretty sure I'm right here, is going to be on the field for 30 to 35 snaps. I think it's kind of what we're seeing, which is basically for their offense, probably roughly half their plays. So maybe he's a series on, a series off. Like that's kind of what I have in my mind, just to kind of limit the snaps. Or maybe they give him 2 series off, so if they need him at the end of the game, he can be in there. Something to that effect. So as a result, I'm not really thrilled about invested in Keenan Allen shares, which is kind of opening up for me to decide yet again, how much DeAndre Carter do I want? I don't really want any because I do think that this is going to affect him. But that's also the reason I really like Austin Eckler again this week, just because with those limitations, you got to think he's going to be incredibly involved in the offense here. How are you feeling about Trey McKitty? I know we're kind of talking receivers, tight ends. I mean, he's very cheap tonight, and at 2.2K, he's a guy that we love tight ends on Showdown anyway. Like, what are your thoughts? I mean, he's got to get some work here. I mean, Gerald Everett was getting 6 to 8 targets a game. I got to think Trey McKitty gets something close. I think he's going to end up being probably one of my favorite plays on the night for the price, and having him at 9% roughly. I mean, that's lower than some of our cheaper receivers like Justin Watson, which McKitty could easily outscore him in this game.
Yeah, for sure. And McKitty had 6 targets last week, so it's not like he didn't get any work last week either. I think I maybe for upside slightly prefer Justin Watson, and then I'd put McKitty in there next, maybe ahead of Sky Moore. So I'll definitely have some exposure at that $2,200 salary though, for sure. Definitely in play.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's talk kickers and defenses. They're all kind of around that 4K price point. Chiefs 38, Chargers 36. Butker, the Chiefs kicker, 4,200. Cameron Dicker, 4K. Have to imagine, given the 52-point total in this game and the fact that the prices are similar, we have to like the kickers more than the defenses tonight.
Absolutely. There's no way I'm taking defenses over kickers tonight. Don't look now, but I think they're going to let Cameron Dicker kick a little bit, which is very strange. I typically don't like to play kickers from the Chargers because Coach Allen is going to go for it on 4th down, man. It sucks so bad. Like, he could very well end up with, 3 to 4 points if they score 4 touchdowns, and sometimes they may go for it on the goal line, elect to just go for 2. I'm very leery of Dicker the kicker, understanding that he's also been kicking here. Like, I mean, he kicked 3 field goals last week against San Francisco. Three field goals for this offense that's weird. It's very weird. He's kicked at least 2 in the past 3 weeks. I don't know, man. I like Dicker. I like Butker. If I had to side with one, I'm definitely going with Butker. I trust Butker to kick more field goals than Dicker. And, I just think long term, if we avoid kickers from the Chargers, we're going to come out ahead. And I think I'm just going to stick with that.
Yeah, it saves the stomach churn as well when they always go for it on 4th down. And they're in that kind of 25 to 35 yard line range. They're just always tend to be aggressive and go for it, like you mentioned. Anything else on the DraftKings build? And we can pivot over and talk a little FanDuel before we hit lock here too.
Well, so I think we're good. The only other thing I think people might be afraid of is maybe Noah Gray vulturing, and I do say vulturing a touchdown. But I just try to stay away from thin plays, even in Showdown. I know it sounds crazy, but he's $3K. I don't see any reason to play him over McKitty. I just want to bring that up because I know people, typically start thinking about these cheap tight ends for Showdown.
Yeah, good point. I'm not too worried about that either. If it happens, it happens. But anyway, we can move on over and talk about FanDuel. If you are in the YouTube chat, you can drop some questions in there. We can take those. And also don't forget about Stat Hero. If you have not heard of Stat Hero, it's a unique daily fantasy sports platform which allows users to compete against the house and not against the other players in a contest. You can participate in head-to-head style contests where Stat Hero provides a lineup that you have to beat with your own, as well as pick'em style contests. You can also check out the Big Dime League, which is a season-long leaderboard contest with up to $50K in prizes. You can enter all season long. And first-time depositors, 50% bonus up to $250 with promo code Grinders over on Stat Hero tonight. You got a pick you like over there tonight there, Will?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Steve's got it up. So we've got Isaiah Pacheco, and it's showing rushing yards, but what they're actually doing, Justin, it is rushing yards fantasy point style. So Isaiah Pacheco, they've basically got him at 5.6. His line of 5.6 rushing yards, or 5.58. Let's just say 5.6. And they're basically giving Herbert an automatic 60 yards plus the 1.3 projection. So it's sitting him at about 73 yards automatically. And so for me, I'm just going to take Herbert. I don't think Pacheco is going past 60 yards tonight, for what it's worth. I know he had that one the other week. I don't think that's going to happen. So for me, and if you look at the blitz projection system, they've got him, I think, around 50 as well. So I'm going to side with Herbert. I do think Herbert takes off a time or two in this game. And I'm not saying he's going for 30 yards, but I think 15 to 20. They've got him at, basically 13 rushing yards. That's that projection of 1.3. I'm going to come into agreement with that. And I'm going to take the 6 fantasy points or the 60 rushing yards and add that to Herbert, especially when I don't even think Pacheco is going to really hit 60. So really like this prop here.
Any other props on the board you like tonight? I know you're the prop guy. Anything else stands out to you for this game?
So I'm rolling with some things that I've kind of always liked. So I am taking Justin Herbert over 8.5 rushing yards. Like I said, I think he ends up somewhere around 15. So 8.5, I like the value there. I'm taking Mahomes over 290 passing yards. The yards have just been there week to week. I think we see something similar. I'm also taking Mahomes, if you're on Prize Picks, they've got him at 2.5 passing, rushing, or receiving touchdowns. 2.5, and they're giving us all 3 options. So not just passing, rushing, or receiving. They got him at 2.5. A guy that can run it in, throw for 2, throw for 3. I don't think he's going to catch one tonight, but I really like that prop. Travis Kelce's at 77.5 receiving yards, taking the over there. They've got Jerick McKinnon at 3 receptions. This is more of a trends play just because of the amount of work he's got in the passing game. And here's the thing I love about receptions. He could have 5 catches for negative 20 yards, Justin, and the prop's going to hit. It's got nothing to do with the receiving yards, everything to do with how many times he catches the ball. Love that. I'm taking MVS over 45.5 receiving yards. I think you'll see a trend in my props here tonight. However, with Sky Moore, they've got him at 18.5 receiving yards. I am taking the under there. Once again, this is more of a trend play. I just don't think – I think if he gets a target, it's 1 target, maybe 2. And I'm just hoping that it's not one of those 40-yard plays that's down the sideline and he scores a touchdown. So you can catch as many passes as you want. Just don't pass 18.5 yards. On to the Chargers. We've got Mike Williams at 60.5 receiving yards. I'm taking the over because I think this game, the back-and-forth nature is going to get us there. And then last but not least, I've got oh, wait a minute. Where'd it go? Yeah, I'm also taking Austin Eckler over 5.5 receptions. And those are my main props for the night.
All right, so we do like a lot of passing in this game, which is not unexpected the way the Chiefs operate. Again, we saw them on primetime a few weeks ago, and they chucked it, 50-plus times and ran it like 8 or 9 times. It doesn't matter if they get a lead or if it's a competitive game, they're going to chuck it. So
just need the Chargers to stay in.
Yep. Which, again, I think they will. I think the Chargers will keep it competitive. And we'll see what becomes of it here. All right, let's talk FanDuel a little bit before we hit lock. We got about 7 minutes left. You don't have the salary multiplier on FanDuel. You got 5 roster spots instead of 6. And you only have the half-point PPR, which is going to knock down Eckler and Kelsey and the likes just a little bit. But your thoughts on kind of the general FanDuel build here?
Yeah, for me, I'm just going 100% Mahomes. Like, there's no reason for me to not just lock in Mahomes at captain and guess at MVP. And if I don't win, guess what, Justin? I wipe off my hands and I go the opposite direction. You got me tonight, but I think Mahomes is he's the guy. Lock him in, ride it to the money tonight. No reason to get cute here. Yes, I know that Kelsey could go off, or any of these guys could go off, but I think it's Mahomes, man. I really do.
Yeah, it's tough to go outside of Mahomes on FanDuel with the format. The fact that touchdowns are so much more valuable, it's tough to really make a strong case to go elsewhere. Obviously in tournaments, variants, and all that stuff, but he's just so safe. Barring an injury, it's tough to say, hey, I'm going to go somewhere else with my captain on my MVP spot on FanDuel here.
Yeah.
I mean, Pacheco maybe gets a bump up on FanDuel because of the half-point PPR, but McKinnon is only 7K on FanDuel, which is interesting. Pacheco's 9K. Eckler is 15K, which is pretty steep. Any differences to the way you're handling the running backs over on FanDuel?
Still getting in tons of Eckler. And the thing is, you can pretty much play this however you want to play it on FanDuel. I will say, on FanDuel, I don't mind a little bit of Herbert over Eckler. The half-point PPR is going to bump him down a little. He's still got tons of touchdown equity, but what it opens up for you, let's say you want to play Kadarius Toney as well. So, right now, I've got a bill with Mahomes, Kelsey, Herbert, Toney, and I've got 1 spot left, right? I've still got, in my opinion, enough options to pull something off here, to pull something sneaky off if I want to. You can get one of the cheap tight ends or anything like that. If I don't like Toney, right, I could go down to MVS. I could go down to McKinnon, leave tons of salary on the table. I could come up. So I like the options I get by getting the $1,000 discount from Eckler to Herbert. And Herbert's going to get his opportunities as well.
Yeah, Herbert a little more appealing there on FanDuel. And if you look at the wide receiver pricing, the 3 Charger receivers, Williams, Allen, and Palmer, obviously they priced up Palmer again just as a protective measure in case Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were out. Didn't want him being a free square, but all of the Chiefs receivers are cheaper than the 3 Charger receivers. So you're still going to see Tony, MVS, Justin Watson kind of be appealing over there on FanDuel. Particularly Tony will be a little more popular because his price is cheaper on FanDuel. Of course, you've got Kelsey. You've got McKitty down at $5K for a punt if you need it. Any differences to the way you're handling the pass catchers here?
Not really. I've still got. I think let me say this, and I don't think I mentioned it, so I'm sorry. On FanDuel, I lock Mahomes in MVP, lock Kelsey in the flex, and then just go from there. Like that's kind of my approach. And then I'm just kind of in a round robin scenario with Tony, Mike Williams, all these other pass. Like that's kind of where I am because I don't know like which one of these Kansas City guys or the alternate Charger guys is going to kind of get the targets. But I do feel really confident in Mike Williams, really confident in Kelsey, and then I'm kind of mixing and matching from there.
Yeah, I like that call. We do have a couple questions in the YouTube chat, so I'll throw those out real quick because we're a couple minutes away from lock. Big Hurt wants to know favorite way to get different on FanDuel tonight. What do you think? What do you think there?
I would probably say play McKitty over Watson. I think Watson's going to get more ownership than McKitty.
And somebody also asked that question, McKitty or Watson straight up. You like McKitty there then?
Yeah, I'm all aboard the McKitty train. I like the idea of him getting enough targets to get it done.
Yeah, I think especially after, a relatively encouraging target share last week. Obviously, they had some wide receivers out then as well, but it's not like, he's a stranger to being involved after last week, and they could be behind. So, all right, Dan Janning wants to know, would you play Eckler in a lineup where you're using Herbert as a captain on DK?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, Eckler catches enough balls. That's definitely not a problem for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
yeah. Let's see. I think we've got through all the questions. We are about a minute away from lock. Make sure you get those lineups finalized. I see no additional news and notes that are coming in, so we should be good to go. Let's see. Any other wild kind of plays? We talked about Sky Moore. I'm just trying to. You kind of mentioned the backup tight end thing. We talked about the kickers. I think we've covered it all. Anything else from your end?
No, I'm good to go, man. Hopefully, we help some people yet again this week. Trying to just at least give people some strategy. My boy on Hell, what's up, my man? He's saying what's up. One of my longtime friends in the industry. So good to see him still around.
That's awesome. Always good to see some of the OGs still coming around here after what's been a number of years at this point. So all right, so with that, we are at lock. We'll go ahead and wrap it up and get out of here. Tomorrow night we've got the 49ers and the Cardinals on Monday Night Football, so we'll have you covered for that. We'll also have you covered with the NBA slate tomorrow night. A couple busy days in the NBA coming up here, heading up until the holiday. So it was a relatively light weekend slate in the NBA. So we've got 7 or 8 games coming up there tomorrow as well. So check that out. We'll be back with you tomorrow for our usual NBA and Monday Night Football content over at RotoGrinders. Until then, we'll go ahead and sign off for now. Thanks to Will for joining me. Thanks to Steve for producing and working hard behind the scenes for us. Have a great Sunday night, everybody. I am Justin, and we'll catch you later.